We had an interesting conversation with Professor Sayantan Ghosal from the University of Glasgow about a project that we at Public Affairs Centre are working with the university. Tell us something about yourself.
Okay. Yes, so I'm a professor of economics at Glasgow University, and I've had a research career in economics from 1996. And this has spanned various fields and areas of economics, such as mathematical economics, general equilibrium, game theory, but also applications of theory to issues such as poverty, development, financial crisis, and so on. I have won several research grants, including the one that we're going to be doing with PAC. Here, I've had past and present PhD students, 22 of them. 2 more are joining next year. I have many co-authors in all different parts of the world. And then I have been a member of various research council committees, and I'm a member of the Strategic Advisory Network of the Economic and Social Research Council, and in that capacity I have chaired various commissioning panels. I have worked as part of groups that have looked at how funding can be directed to early career researchers. So, it's been a full, varied academic career, mapping various types of things that an academic does.
Now, coming to the SDMC project that you're doing with PSC, one aspect of it was the mechanism that was put in by the RTA, which was the SDMC. How much of it do you think can directly help improve learning outcomes, which are really abysmal at the moment? Given the if you look at the DICE data, you look at all the data that you have, it's very bad. So how much of it will improve?
Well, we hope that the greater involvement of parents from poor, marginalized backgrounds in the running of the SDMCs will have several types of impact. One of them will obviously be to mitigate the status gap that exists between head teachers and parents. After all, parents know best how their children learn, what is a welcoming environment for their children to learn in. They know the constraints that children face in the home, what are the obstacles and barriers they have in terms of engaging fully with their studies. A head teacher may not have that view, and by a greater engagement with the SDMC, greater involvement with the SDMC, the parents may be able to influence the functioning of the school in such a way that the school is more sensitive and more aware of these issues. So that must surely have an impact over time. We might also expect that as parents are more effectively engaged with the SDMCs, they may start thinking of the school as their own. And that, of course, has a big thing, because if they see the school as something that is distant and not of their own, then they would be less willing to do voluntary work, they would be less willing to look after it, they would be less willing to be careful about it, less willing to make sure that children fully engage with what is being taught, with the activities of the school, with the extra learning opportunities that may come through the school. They might also have the effect of being able to mobilize additional resources for the school that the school otherwise may not have. Also, they will be able to influence, whatever discretionary powers the school has. This can range from things like teacher absenteeism to who is getting the midday meal, how the money is spent, that kind of thing. Okay, what kind of extracurricular activities the school should put on. It can have an impact on the way the Grow Local Gram Panchayat interacts with the school and the school administration. So there are multiple ways in which greater engagement of parents, by parents belonging to poor, marginalized backgrounds, in the running of the SDMCs can have an impact on the running of the school. And the idea is that a school that is better adapted to the needs of children from poor marginalized backgrounds will result in better learning outcomes for such children.
Now, a lot of it is built on the fact that I've gone through the pilot project findings that were there. So a lot of it is there is also about how a lot of the mothers are not part of the SDMC. So how much of community engagement is required to actually mobilize them to be a part of the SDMC, because there are diverse reasons. Even within sections there are subsections and the hierarchy is built, right? How do you overcome that? How does that work?
Yes, so this is, I think, the key. I think mothers are best placed actually to ensure the education of the children. And there are different types of barriers. So there is obviously the marginalized caste barrier, there are minority, and then there's the gender issue. That's a very interesting question. And so what we're trying to do is really to adapt this idea of Paulo Freire's work, reflection circles, and put in place a training program which is all about enhancing the self-worth of the participants. And the hope is that by enhancing the self-worth of the participants, then the participants get more ownership over the whole committee, and they feel that they can actually, they are in a position to make some contribution, they feel the confidence to make a contribution, and they get ownership over the outcomes of what the committee does or does not do. But I think at the end of the day, this all reduces, the first step is changing that self-image or that self-worth. And this is really going to be the focal point of the study, which is about understanding the role of self-worth and self-image, especially as it affects women from poor marginalized communities, mothers, and by supporting and by mitigating some of the negative influences on their self-image and their self-worth, we hope that these women will feel empowered to take control and to act in a particular way.
Last question was not there in the list of questions that I emailed you, but how important do you think is to have, particularly with this project, is to lay down the entire research methodology in stone, or does it keep evolving because you're learning from the field as well?
Well, definitely, we don't want to set anything in stone. So, which is why we have done a scoping study. Now we are going to have a number of field trips from members of the project team with PAC, collaborators. Then we are going to do, on the basis of that field trip, we're going to interact with Uma Kulkarni and try and pin down more precisely the training program that she has in mind. And then we're going to actually trial a few of them through a number of pilot studies. It's only once we have the pilot data and we have the experience from the pilot studies that we will be in a position to finalize the research design for the randomized control trial. And that's unlikely to happen before next summer. So we have about a year to actually do the scoping, exploratory, pilot work we need to do in order to actually fully pin down the research design. So nothing is set in stone at the moment, nothing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.